Okay, so Sonic 2 was released in November 1992 and was a massive success. However, while Sonic 2 was being developed in America by Sega Technical Institute, Sonic Team was in Japan working on a different Sonic follow-up. If you didn't watch my Sonic 2 review, not my problem. During Sonic 2's development in America, Sonic co-creator Yuji Naka and Sonic 1 lead designer Hirokazu Yasuhira both relocated to America, along with a few other employees to help STI finish making Sonic 2. But meanwhile in Japan, Sonic's original character designer, Naoto Oshima, stayed with Sonic Team to work on another Sonic game separate from Sonic 2. Sega immediately made Oshima the director of the next major Sonic game, which they wanted to be made exclusively for their newly released CD add-on for the Mega Drive. Sega figured that a mainline Sonic title made for the add-on would help it sell more units. Oshima and the rest of Sonic Team just toyed with the idea of just making an enhanced port of Sonic 1 or even Sonic 2, but they eventually decided to just make a brand new Sonic game from scratch, one that could fully take advantage of the Sega CD hardware instead of just being a fancy port. Sega actually gave Oshima free range to do whatever he wanted with this Sega CD Sonic game, so Oshima explored a lot of different concepts and ideas. One idea that the Sonic 2 team originally threw around was a time travel mechanic, but they dropped it pretty quickly. Naoto Oshima loved the idea and wanted to incorporate it into his Sonic title. He really loved the idea of the levels that Sonic was running around in could just suddenly change around him. Oshima also wanted to expand Sonic's cast of characters. That way the game wouldn't just include Sonic and Eggman, which led to the game's visual designer, Kazuyuki Hoshino, creating 2 new characters. Reflecting on the whole project, Oshima claimed that this Sega CD Sonic game wasn't really supposed to be another Sonic 2, but more of a CD version of the original Sonic 1. A reimagining, pretty much. Naoto Oshima's Sonic title would be released in September 1993, being plainly titled Sonic CD. The game received huge praise at the time, and it would also become the best-selling game on the Sega CD add-on, just like Sega had hoped for. Partially. Unfortunately, the Sega CD itself did not sell very well, especially when compared to the Genesis sales alone. The original Sega CD version of Sonic CD did manage to sell 1.5 million copies, but it was nowhere near the success of Sonic 1 or Sonic 2. The Sega CD was a major failure for the company, and Sonic CD would end up falling into obscurity. Shortly after the Sega CD was discontinued in 1996, that same year, Sonic CD would end up getting a port on PC. I think Sega most likely made this port as soon as the Sega CD's career was over, because maybe they just wanted Sonic CD to keep selling copies in some way. The 1996 PC version would wound up being the only time that Sonic CD was ported for years, since it wasn't included on Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn in 1997, and was famously excluded on the Sonic Mega Collection in 2002, along with not appearing on Mega Collection Plus in 2004. Apparently, Sonic CD was originally going to be in Mega Collection, but it was cut due to storage space. I also think it was because Sonic Team had a difficult time trying to emulate the Sega CD hardware, and this point would actually be proven in 2005, when the Sonic Gems collection was released. This collection included Sonic CD, Sonic R, Sonic the Fighters, and a couple Game Gear titles, along with both Vector Man games. Alrighty. This collection included the first ever home console port of Sonic the Fighters. Meanwhile, the versions of both Sonic CD and Sonic R were actually based off the PC ports. That actually makes a lot of sense, considering Sonic Team's issues with emulating the Sega CD, and Sonic R being on, you know, the Saturn. Sonic Gems collection would end up being the main version of Sonic CD that most people would become familiar with. And for a time, it was probably the best version of Sonic CD to play. Then, sometime in 2009, a demonstration video was created by a one Christian Whitehead, also known as Sonic Retro user Taxman. Christian uploaded a proof of concept video showing off an enhanced port of Sonic CD for mobile phones. He had already done a few fan projects in the past, but this time, he really made an effort to grab Sega's attention. This enhanced port of Sonic CD was made on Whitehead's custom-built engine, called the Retro Engine at the time, and a previous version of this engine was actually used for the Retro Sonic Nexus fan project. Well, Sega eventually saw Christian Whitehead's demonstration video and actually hired him to make this neat port. This brand new version of Sonic CD would end up releasing in December 2011, a good month after the release of Sonic Generations. However, not only was this port released on mobile devices, but Sega hired another company, Blit, to port the game on Xbox 360, PS3, and Steam. In fact, during this port's first month of release, it actually charted #1 on the PlayStation Network store, which doesn't shock me at all since it was only $5. A great price for a damn good port. Now some of you may be thinking, Cooper, why are you opening this review talking about Sonic CD's various releases and ports throughout the years? You didn't do that in your Sonic 1 and 2 re-reviews. Well, I mainly wanted to explain just how exactly I'm going to be reviewing Sonic CD. You see, when I decided to re-review every Sonic game for my Sonic Marathon, one of the biggest things I really wanted to do was review the original versions of all the games. Like review the Genesis versions, the Saturn versions, the Dreamcast versions, all that stuff. But Sonic CD is the one exception that I'll be making for this marathon, mainly because I don't care about any version of this game pre-2011. Now, it's not like I hate the original versions of Sonic CD, it's just that I have a much stronger connection with the 2011 port. I bought Sonic CD on PS3 not too long after it released, around Christmas Eve 2011. It was just $5, so it was a major steal for me back then. Before I got to play this port of CD, I wasn't really that big of a Sonic fan. I did play Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Spinball, and Shadow, but I wasn't fully invested with the series. Nothing about Sonic ever really captivated me at that point in time. That was, until I played this port of Sonic CD. I don't know why, but this version of Sonic CD would end up making me become a big Sonic fan. Yep, it's been nearly 10 whole years since I became a dedicated Sonic fan. CD had just made me fall in love with the series. So after playing it, I tried tracking down as many Sonic games I could get my hands on. Take a guess how that's going. So while I did review the original Genesis versions of Sonic 1 and 2, and still plan on looking at the original console versions of a few Sonic games in the future, Sonic CD is the only game I'll be reviewing based on a better port of the game. I did consider tracking down a Sega CD and an original copy of Sonic CD, but the Sega CD itself is pretty pricey these days. Plus, I'd rather not get an expensive, elusive add-on for just one game that I'd be willing to get. Besides, the only other Sega CD game I currently own is Wild Woody. Yes, this is still gonna be on my will. However, I do plan on tracking down the original Sega CD version for collector's sake, but for this review, it's not really needed. I do own the original 1996 PC version, mainly because copies of it are extremely cheap to get, especially in comparison with the original Sega CD version. But still, I'm gonna be using the Christian Whitehead port to review the game. Honestly, this is hands down the best version of Sonic CD, and I highly recommend picking it up. Even if you don't like Sonic CD that much, and even if you're not a Sonic fan, just go get it. Now, some of you watching this video may be thinking, but Cooper, why should I spend more money on some fancy schmancy ports when I already own the game on Sega CD, PC, or Gems Collection? Well, all I've got to say to that is, it's just $5 fucking. Stop making up excuses not to get it. Though I will be showing off the original Sega CD version for a few comparisons with Christian Whitehead's port, so I'll have to record the game using an emulator. I'll even use the original PC and Gems Collection versions for a few things too. Here's something fun you can do. If you get the game on Steam, I recommend getting the Mayflash Mega Drive controller adapter for PC, mainly because you can actually set it up to where you can use a Genesis controller for this port. You do have to activate the D-pad to recognize analog inputs, and you also have to select stuff in the menus using the C button, but it works amazingly well. So while I'm not using the original Sega CD version, I'm at least going to be playing the game with the original controller it was designed for. With all that said, let's take a look at Sonic CD. First off, when you start the game, look at this! What the fuck? A full motion video? Yup, this is the Sega CD alright. Because of that, we get our first animated Sonic the Hedgehog cutscenes. We mainly just get opening and closing cutscenes, but they're both extremely cool. However, the original Sega CD versions of these cutscenes look a bit shitty. I mean, most videos on the Sega CD look like shit anyways, but this one has a weird Sonic the Hedgehog CD border around it. The 1996 PC version did use more updated, color-corrected FMVs, but they were still horribly compressed, and were also still cropped in that stupid border. The original FMVs were always full-frame 4x3. We never got to see the original full-frame FMVs until the movie theater and Sonic Jam included them, along with a few other videos. This was pretty cool to see, albeit still compressed to shit since it was still on a CD-ROM based console. While the Sonic Mega Collection didn't include the original game, it did include Sonic CD's FMV sequences. And wow, look at that. This is fucking beautiful. Not to mention, while the Gems Collection version of Sonic CD was based on the 1996 PC port, it still included the higher resolution FMVs, color corrected and everything, which is super dope. These animated sequences were actually handled by Toei Animation, the same company behind Dragon Ball, which perfectly explains why they look so damn good. This animated version of Sonic is usually dubbed Toei Sonic, and he might just be the best looking classic Sonic ever. Toei Animation nailed it. It just looks and feels like Sonic. I could honestly watch these FMVs over and over again. God, I love them. I've seen some of the animation cells for the cutscenes get scanned and shared online, and they look absolutely beautiful. One of my biggest goals in life is to own one of these animation cells and frame it on my wall. Seriously, I love this shit. But while the Christian Whitehead port does a lot right, if there is one big flaw I could give it, is that while the home console and Steam versions included the FMVs, they were all cropped to be 16:9 for some reason. I have no clue why they were cropped. Thankfully, the mobile versions did include a few bug fixes, and even fixed the FMVs to be back in their original 4:3 aspect ratio again. Sadly, Christian Whitehead said it doesn't seem likely that these bug fixes and FMV corrections will ever be brought to the console and Steam versions, since Sega finds it too pricey to update those platforms in comparison to the mobile versions. That sucks. Thankfully, someone did finally make a mod to fix the cropped FMV issue on the Steam version. So whatever, at least that's there. Okay, so the plot of Sonic CD involves Sonic running about until he notices a giant object in the sky above his area. This is Little Planet, and Dr. Eggman almost immediately tries to take it over. So Sonic heads up the giant rock to put a stop to the Doctor's plans and free Little Planet. During this adventure, Sonic comes across two new characters. Amy Rose, a pink hedgehog who has a huge obsession with Sonic to a point where she follows him almost everywhere. But this leads to her getting captured by the second new character in Sonic CD, Metal Sonic, Sonic's perfect rival, and the coolest fucking character ever. So Sonic's also gotta defeat Metal Sonic and rescue Amy, all while stopping Dr. Eggman as well. Both Amy Rose and Metal Sonic were created by Sonic CD's visual designer, Kazuyuki Hashino. But Amy was also partially designed by Naoto Oshima himself too. Amy was actually based on the character of the same name in the Sonic the Hedgehog manga, which was released sometime before Sonic CD. Oshima created Amy as a way of countering the damsel in distress trope. So he made Amy's personality about being infatuated with Sonic, even though Sonic doesn't really show any interest in her. I've heard a lot of people criticize Amy's original design as just being a pink Sonic, but I think that was kind of the point of her look. I honestly love the way she looks in Sonic CD. She just looks super adorable. I do prefer her modern design from Adventure onward since it gave her a more unique look, but I still love Amy's classic design. I love her cute little blouse. Her headband looks neat, and come on. This artwork of Sonic holding Amy looks sweet. Interestingly enough, Sonic the Fighters dubbed Amy as Rosie the Rascal, and I love referring to Amy's classic design by that name, mainly to help differentiate it with her modern design. I love little Rosie, she's such a sweetheart. Then there's Metal Sonic, who just looks awesome. I love everything about Metal Sonic's design. It's basically the same concept as Robo Sonic from Sonic 2, but both Oshima and Hashino wanted this version of a robotic Sonic to have a much sleeker look to him. As a result, he looks absolutely badass, and would gain a huge fan following after Sonic CD. I just love how his torso is designed to be a jet turbine, which perfectly explains why he's able to go just as fast as Sonic. It is genius. Absolutely brilliant. Oh yeah, it should also be noted that in Sonic CD, Dr. Eggman switched from powering his Batniks with woodland animals to powering them with plants. Interesting. I'm not too sure why Eggman decided to go green for just this game alone, but I can roll with it. Alright, gameplay. Oh boy. Okay, so the gameplay of the original Sega CD version played just about the same as Sonic 1 and 2, mainly since they built the game off Yuji Naka's Sonic 1 code. Makes sense. Same deal happened with Sonic 2. So CD played just fine, despite some issues. But focusing on the Christian Whitehead port, well, if you've played Sonic Mania or even the mobile ports of Sonic 1 and 2, then you know exactly how this port of Sonic CD plays. It is a perfect replication of the original Genesis Sonic gameplay. The controls and physics are spot on. I'd even say it controls way better than the original Sega CD version, plus the 96 PC and Gems Collection ports. Sonic has all his usual moves from Sonic 1 and 2. However, this port fixes one important move: the spin dash. In the original versions of Sonic CD, while Sonic did have the spin dash, it barely functioned like it did in Sonic 2. Mainly, you can't instantly take off from a spin dash. You had to come to a full stop and then let the spin dash charge up for a bit, which is pretty tedious. But in Christian Whitehead's port, he included the option to use the Sonic 2 spin dash, which is obviously way better. Though just for the Sonic CD purists, there is an option to use the original Sonic CD spin dash, but who the fuck would want to use the original GIMP spin dash? Like, seriously. There is one new move that Sonic can perform that's weirdly only in Sonic CD and a couple Game Gear titles: the Super Peel Out. To use it, it's similar to how the spin dash works, but you have to hold up instead of down. This'll cause Sonic to rev up in a figure 8, and letting go of up will make Sonic shoot forward at a great speed. This is a really cool move, though it does leave you open to getting hit by enemies. One move I like doing is revving up the Super Peel Out, then once Sonic shoots forward, I press down so he'll go into ball mode. I really like the Super Peel Out, but we won't really see it be used in a home console Sonic game until it came back as an unlockable feature in Mania, and I guess it was technically in Sonic Lost World, kind of, not really. I honestly wouldn't mind if this became a regular part of the classic Sonic moveset. It looks pretty sick. Alright, that's how Sonic controls and whatnot. But how do Sonic's abilities apply to the levels in Sonic CD? Well, this is where Sonic CD becomes totally split between most people who have played it. Since Naoto Oshima had free range to do whatever he wanted with this game, he also wanted to make some changes to the level design and whatnot. As a result, Sonic CD's level design is pretty interesting. I wouldn't necessarily call it bad, it's just radically different in comparison to the first two games. The level layouts are much bigger and often expansive to run around in. Sonic CD has a big focus on exploration. Not only that, but nearly every level in Sonic CD has 4 different versions. This leads me to Sonic CD's central gimmick: time travel. In the first 2 acts of zones, you start them in present time. As you run around, you'll come across these 2 different signposts that read future and past. After passing either post, if you run long enough, Sonic will get all sparkly. Running long enough will make Sonic warp to the future or past, based off which signpost he last activated. Most levels have 4 different iterations: past, present, good future, and bad future. So, what exactly is the point of time traveling, aside from changing the level's looks and layouts? Well, when you first play the game, and if you head to the future, you'll see that it looks bleak and depressing. This is the bad future. You have to actually go back to the past version of the levels, and find an old robot generator that Eggman placed there. Simply destroy it, and when you head back to the future, you'll see that it's become more lively and pretty. This is, of course, the good future. So making good futures is what your goal should be. Oh yeah, also in the past, there's these metal Sonic projectors which I don't think you need to destroy in order to make a good future. I think destroying them will just get you an achievement / trophy in the Christian Whitehead port, which involves destroying both the generators and projectors in every past version of the zones, which is time consuming to say the least. As complicated as this idea of time traveling is, I really love this idea. I remember being blown away by this concept when I first played this game about a decade ago, mainly because the only other Genesis games I played at the time were Sonic 2, 3, and Spinball. I had no idea that a classic Sonic game was fully capable of pulling off a concept as grand as time travel. It's fucking sick, bro. Also, if you're not too big on the idea of time traveling in every level just to create good futures, well, I'll bring up an easier option later. However, with there being 4 different versions of almost every zone, this can lead to some slight oddities with the level design. Not only are the levels way bigger, but they are way more insane to run around in. I kind of like the scope of every level. It just feels sweet getting to run around in these grandiose worlds. And not to mention, this port playing in widescreen really helps in a lot of areas. But that's not to say I fully love the level design in this game, because it can be whack sometimes. This game really loves placing springs everywhere. Like, seriously. And don't even get me started with the spikes. The color palette is also explosively dynamic. At the time, this game really did an excellent job showing off the power of the Sega CD, though that claim can't fully apply here since I'm using the Christian Whitehead remaster. One important thing worth noting about this port is that unlike the previous versions of Genesis Sonic games, this port isn't running off of emulation and it's not even a port of the original version of Sonic CD. Instead, Christian Whitehead remade the game from the ground up on his custom-built engine, the Retro Engine, which explains why the game runs a whole lot smoother and plays way better. I don't mean to knock the original versions of Sonic CD, but I can't really stand to play this game when it's not the Christian Whitehead version. The original CD did control just fine, but it did suffer some weird issues, like odd collision detection, and a bunch of slowdown due to it being an early CD-based game. But since the 2011 port was rebuilt from the ground up, both those issues were completely eradicated. Plus, the widescreen support alone makes me greatly prefer Christian's version. Now, I'm not some purist out there who thinks widescreen classic Sonic is the only proper way of playing these games, but it still helps greatly. However, the smoother gameplay and widescreen support doesn't mean Christian Whitehead altered anything else in this port. So this port still retains the messy, zany, massively scoped levels of Sonic CD. And I'll dive into how crazy these levels can get during the zone breakdown. For now, I'll say that while these are far from my ideal way of doing classic Sonic level designs, I can't help but have fun with how crazy these levels can be. There's not a single zone in this game that ever comes off as just dull to me. Each level has their own interesting personalities to them, which I think makes them all the more memorable. It also helps give this little planet location a lot of life to it. It's such a unique concept that every zone in this game takes place on this little planet. Haha. What also helps every level is this game's soundtrack. Yes, plural. This game has 2 different soundtracks, one for the Japanese and European versions, and one for the American version. Why? Well, it's a bit complicated. Sonic CD was developed in Japan, and even though Masato Nakamura was out of the picture at this point, Sega instead turned to their internal sound team to create the game's music. The original Japanese soundtrack of Sonic CD was composed by Nafumi Hateya and Masafumi Ogata. However, during Sonic CD's westernization, Sega of America delayed the game for 2 whole months, and specifically requested that the soundtrack be completely reworked. They felt that the bouncier and more electronic Japanese soundtrack wouldn't sit too well with American audiences. So Spencer Nilsson, David Young, and Mark Crew were all brought in to rescore most of Sonic CD's soundtrack in the US. What was great about Sonic CD's soundtracks for both teams is that since the game was being made on, well, a CD, that meant the audio could seriously benefit from the format and not have to rely on the Sega Genesis sound chips. Interestingly enough, while the American soundtrack changed a lot of songs, the only level music that remained the same on both the Japanese and US soundtracks were the past versions of the levels. This was mainly because, unlike the other songs, the past music tracks were actually programmed into the game internally, so they couldn't be removed as easily. Huh. So, how are both soundtracks to Sonic CD? Well, I liked them a lot. One more than the other, but I still think both have their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, maybe not the Japanese soundtrack. The original Japanese soundtrack is just about perfect. Honestly, it's one of the greatest Sonic soundtracks ever made. Period. There's not a single song in the soundtrack that I dislike. At all. I'd say that the Japanese soundtrack is probably my second favorite in the whole series, right behind Sonic Adventure 1. But while I do prefer the Japanese soundtrack overall, I do think the American soundtrack has some good songs too. Honestly, the fact that this game has two different soundtracks just makes it more fascinating to listen to. The more the merrier, you know? And no, that was not a reference to Shadow the Hedgehog. The fact that the American soundtrack only had 2 months to be worked on is really impressive in my book. I think the American soundtrack deserves more love these days, and shouldn't just be swept under the rug just because the Japanese soundtrack is superior. So, to Spencer, Young, and crew, you guys did an excellent job. I like what you made. Plus, another big reason why I recommend the Christian Whitehead port so much is that it was the first ever version of Sonic CD to include an option to switch between both soundtracks, which is awesome. Though this does lead to one minor issue with Christian's port. The Japanese opening and closing themes had to remove their vocals. Why? Well, apparently, it had to do with licensing issues with the original lyrics for both songs, which were written by Casey Rankin, who sadly passed away 2 years before Christian made his port of Sonic CD. Thankfully, since the port is on Steam, you can just install a mod to put the original songs back in. Okay, focusing on the songs themselves, both the Japanese and American soundtracks have amazing vocal themes. I probably prefer the Japan themes, You Can Do Anything and Cosmic Eternity, but on the American soundtrack, both the opening and closing versions of Sonic Boom are phenomenal tracks too. Not to mention, Sonic Boom didn't have its vocals removed in the 2011 port, so that's good. For some of the first vocal themes ever put into a Sonic game, all 4 of them are fantastic. Before I move on, I want to bring up the 2 official soundtrack releases for Sonic CD. Sonic the Hedgehog Boom in 1994, and the 20th anniversary album in 2011. So far, this Sonic Boom album from 1994 remains the only officially released soundtrack for the American OST. And it didn't even include the full soundtrack either. But it is a solid release and I recommend tracking it down. Or maybe just look up the songs online. It's a pretty sick-ass album. Plus, some of the tracks have extended intros and different mixes compared to the final versions in the game, which is pretty sweet. The Boom album also contained 4 bonus arrangements from, of all games, Sonic Spinball. All 4 were made by Spinball's composer, Howard Drawson, which is cool. They're a pretty interesting inclusion, though that was probably because both CD and Spinball released in the same year so close to each other. But I'll save talking about the Spinball tracks for another time. Well, during Sega's 20th Anniversary Edition soundtrack releases, one of these albums was for Sonic CD. This album contained just about every song from the Japanese soundtrack, which also made this album the first ever time the Japanese soundtrack was officially distributed outside of Japan and Europe, since it predates the 2011 port by about a month. This soundtrack album is pretty sweet, but I'm not too big on it. A part of me kinda wishes it was a 2-disc soundtrack, like one for the Japanese soundtrack and the other for the American soundtrack. Aside from the opening version of Sonic Boom and like 2 remixes, this album was purely for the Japanese soundtrack. That's totally fine, but I'm not too big on how short the mixes are for some of the level themes. If you didn't know, specific level themes had short little intros to them, which sounded sick. But the 20th anniversary soundtrack doesn't include any of them, which is a little disappointing. Being perfectly honest, you want a definitive way of acquiring Sonic CD's full soundtrack? Then I recommend tracking down the fan-made compilation, Sonic CD, The Complete Soundtrack 2.0. This is an amazing fan effort by Cyber Kai, which compiles both the American and Japanese soundtracks, along with a few bonuses, like the Japanese tracks including their intros, some of the differently mixed tracks from the Sonic Boom album, plus some additional remixes, and an extended mix of Cosmic Eternity that I absolutely adore. Once again, you can always rely on Sonic fans to do a way better fucking job at releasing Sonic material better than Sega ever could. Shit, a fan even made the best version of Sonic CD too! One last soundtrack release I'll mention is the 2019 vinyl release by Data Discs. It looks neat. I'm not too sure if it just uses the same mixes from the 20th anniversary album, but it's still neat that Double D did a release like this in the same way they did one for Mania. Though that name for the album is pretty odd when you think about it. The Sonic CD Vinyl. What? Okay, I think I'm gonna finally move on from talking about the soundtracks. And also, Jesus fucking Christ, look at how long this damn review is already! And I haven't even started talking about the levels yet! When it comes to the levels in Sonic CD, well, we've got 7 zones to run around in. All of them are separated by 3 acts, with Act 3 usually being the boss act. I'm gonna say this now, the boss fights in Sonic CD are insanely easy. I'm not kidding, some of these bosses are a complete joke, but I'll delve more into them as I look at the levels. Another thing, every third act takes place in either a good or bad future. No third act has a past or present. It's only the first 2 acts of zones that have 4 different versions you can travel to in one go. You know, depending on how good you are at time traveling. Naoto Oshima once described Sonic CD as being more of a reimagining of Sonic 1, instead of being just an ordinary sequel. And that becomes very apparent with the first zone, Palm Tree Panic. Palm Tree Panic is a very pretty level. It's like a really cool mixture of Green Hill and Emerald Hill, with a bunch of Triforce looking objects on the level graphics. I guess you could say in this game, Sonic is the true hero of time. I love the way both the present and good future looks. They're absolutely elegant to be in. Though most of the good futures have little to no enemies or obstacles, especially in Palm Tree Panic. The past version also looks really cool. I really like the prehistoric setting, and Palm Tree Panic's past music is one of my absolute favorites. And of course the bad future looks bleak and depressing, as it should. I kinda like it. Also, in present time, at the end of Act 1, we can bump into Little Rosie. Amy doesn't really do anything besides follow Sonic to give him a hug. I like the little heart trails going above their head. How sweet. Wait a minute. How exactly did Amy get on Little Planet? Did she just follow Sonic onto there? Or was she already just strolling in Palm Tree Panic before Sonic arrived? Well, considering how determined Amy becomes at chasing Sonic down in the future games, we can probably make a conclusive guess on how she got here. Fun fact, by the way, in earlier versions of Sonic CD, Palm Tree Panic was originally called Salad Plain, which is pretty interesting, and it's also pretty obvious why they changed it. If you didn't know, every zone name in Sonic CD uses alliteration, meaning both the words in the name start with the same letter. You know, like Palm Tree Panic, Collision Chaos, Metallic Madness, etc, etc. There is another interesting thing about this level, but it mainly has to do with the music. There's almost no early version of Sonic CD's soundtrack anywhere, but in a version 0.02 alpha for Sonic CD, which is also the game's earliest known prototype, dated December 1992, it features an earlier version of past Palm Tree Panic's music, which has way different sounding mixing. This earlier version of the game was never dumped online until October 2019. That's pretty interesting that this early version of the level music was never made public until 2 years ago. I don't have that many interesting fun facts about early versions of every other level, but I felt like sharing this because I found it pretty interesting. Getting back to the final game, the Act 3 boss is pretty pathetic. Eggman just falls down in a walker, and you can just cheese through it by keeping to the far right of the screen before he falls in the frame. This first boss is pretty lame, but I do like how he's pink in the good future and red in the bad future. The game actually slightly alters the look of the bosses depending on which future you get, which I really like. Next is Collision Chaos, and god damn, this level sure is pink. It's also the zone where we get to see Metal Sonic for the first time, who kidnaps Rosie at the start of Act 1. I should also note that in early prototypes of Sonic CD, when Metal Sonic grabs Amy, he shocks the fucking crap out of her. God damn, how violent. I can see why this got removed from the final game. Collision Chaos is also the level where near the end of the first 2 acts, you end up in a yard of springs. Kinda like a spring yard. Can you guess which zone from Sonic 1 this level's paying homage to? Okay, I'll be honest. I had to use the level select to even look at most of the good futures, because trying to get to them by traveling back to the past, smashing the robot generator, then finally traveling back to the future is pretty fucking tedious. But I'm glad I did use the level select because these good future renditions of all the levels are pretty goddamn cool. And the music in every good future sounds really peaceful and nice. For both soundtracks really. But the Japanese good future music pieces are most definitely some of the best songs in the game. Collision Chaos is also home to these look-alike slicers, the Robot Mantis. That's his official translated name, apparently. Thankfully, they're way less annoying than their nephew from Sonic 2, so I don't hate them as much. Though the boss fight in this zone can be super irritating, at least when I first played it. A lot of the bosses in Sonic CD aren't necessarily about hitting Eggman a bunch of times, but more so about even trying to hit him at least once. The Collision Chaos boss has you bouncing around a compact pinball-like area, trying to reach the top of the zone to pwn Eggman. I can get through it just fine, but it's still one of the more irritating boss fights. Also, I've only ever played this boss in the 2011 port, so I can't imagine how much of a headache this boss fight must be with the original CD's piss-poor collision detection. No thank you. Alright, the next zone is Tidal Tempest, which is basically a much grander version of Labyrinth Zone. But unlike Labyrinth Zone, I actually really like Tidal Tempest. The larger spacing makes it less annoying to venture through, though the underwater sections can make it pretty tricky to time travel in. The past version also has these weird rotating block platforms that kinda remind me of Tetris. Very strange. I also really like the abundance of pink in the good future. It looks really nice. The boss fight here is about chasing Eggman down and hitting him a few times. Then he goes underwater and surrounds himself with air bubbles, which you gotta pop in order to hit him one more time. Oh yeah, Sonic CD doesn't use the traditional drowning music. It's quite odd. Also, the Bad Future music is probably my favorite Bad Future track in the game. It sounds awesome. After Tidal Tempest is Quartz Quadrant, which is probably my favorite zone in the game. The art style here is fucking amazing. I can't get enough of it. It has all my favorite shades of green in the present, the past looks funky as hell, the bad future looks bleak and sad, but the good future is so beautiful. This level's also a major contender for having some of the best music in the game, especially the present and good future. The present version of Quartz Quadrant is probably my most favorite music track in the game, but the future rendition of the zone is a great second best choice too. Seriously, how the hell were humans able to make such a beautiful piece of music? I don't want to praise just the Japanese soundtrack so much, because the American present music is one of the best songs on that soundtrack too. I love the electric guitar. So present Quartz Quadrant in the US soundtrack did not disappoint. Honestly, I feel the Japanese soundtrack uses the piano brilliantly, while the American soundtrack utilizes the electric guitar excellently, and both are damn good. The Quartz Quadrant boss is weird. You only hit Eggman once, then the rest of the boss fight is just about wearing off Eggman's device using a treadmill, while also avoiding a spike attack coming down on Sonic. I remember when I first got to this boss fight, I had no clue what I was even supposed to do. I got so stuck that I needed to look up a walkthrough on how to get past the boss. And since CD was the game that made me become a Sonic fan, that means this was probably the first time I ever had to look up a guide on how to beat a Sonic game. Jesus. Alright, Wacky Workbench. Yup. That name is totally accurate. About 90% of this zone consists of Sonic being bounced straight up in the air, because most of the floor is bouncy material. It's a little disorienting, but I kinda love how crazy this level can get. One fascinating thing about this zone is that in the past version of Act 1, you can find a secret area containing this angel statue of sorts. I have no clue what this statue is supposed to be, but I only know about it because there's an achievement for finding it in the 2011 port, and if you jump at the statue, it starts shooting out a whole bunch of rings. Not only that, but if you keep exiting and re-entering this small room, the statue will keep giving you more rings. You can actually use this method to get another achievement, King of the Rings, which you can unlock by getting 200 rings. Also, what the fuck is going on with the good future? I think I just found the contender for the gayest looking Sonic level. This shit looks like a toddler's bedroom. Welcome to Gayland, where love always wins. This also makes the boss fight way less threatening, and I actually think this boss is alright. I really like the idea of being sent up by the bouncy floor to get to Eggman. It's cool and creative. Speaking of cool and creative, Stardust fucking Speedway. Jesus Christ, this zone is nauseating the playthrough. This level is essentially Starlight Zone on crack, and because of that fact, it's one of my favorite zones in the game. It can also be one of the shortest levels if you know the best routes. The music in both the past and present versions are insanely good, but really odd, especially the Japanese soundtrack's bizarre vocal samples in the past. I get the feeling the composers for the Japanese soundtrack had a fucking blast making Stardust Speedway's level music. One detail I'd like to point out is how in the Sega CD version, these spotlights in the foreground had some very jittery animation, but in the Christian Whitehead port, the animation is way smoother. I like that. I always really liked the greenery in past Stardust Speedway. They're a great attention to detail. I also love the look of the future versions, though I'm not too big on how similar the good and bad futures can look, but I do love the red clouds in the bad future. It can help it look more creepy. And no, that's not because of Sonic.exe. Fuck off. Of course, both the past and present versions of Stardust Speedway would make a return in Sonic Mania, which is cool and all, but I'm not too big on how the time travel mechanic had to be removed, not counting the level transition. It would have been nice to see the good or bad futures again, but thankfully, the bad future version of Stardust Speedway did make an appearance in Sonic Generations in the Metal Sonic boss fight. It also did make a brief appearance in Sonic 4 Episode Metal, but who gives a shit, it's Sonic 4. Speaking of Metal Sonic, we finally encounter him again in Act 3 of Stardust Speedway, and we don't really fight him. It's more of a race that you gotta win by running up and down slopes, while also dodging a few annoyingly laid out spikes. I actually really love this idea of both Sonic and Metal Sonic just racing instead of fighting, but I don't feel CD did an amazing job with it. I mean, on its own, it's fine for what it is, but I feel like it could have been pulled off a little better. My biggest gripe with this boss fight are all these annoying spikes placed everywhere. Seriously, why are there just random spikes? It feels like they realized any good player could just run and jump at the perfect times to cheese this race, so they just added spikes everywhere as a bunch of roadblocks. Though, one thing I really like doing here is activating one of Metal Sonic's 2 attacks. If you're behind Metal, he'll just charge up, but if you're in front of him, he'll charge at you, which also destroys spikes on the track. I like taking advantage of that attack. It can help clear the way a whole lot easier. One audio detail I really like is that no matter which future you go up against Metal Sonic in, it always plays the bad future music during the race. I love that. Mainly since the bad future music fits for this boss way better than the good future music. And this applies for both soundtracks, by the way. The Japanese bad future music already sounds phenomenal, but the American rendition is also really great. I highly recommend listening to both these songs if you haven't. They're excellent. Plus, before the race starts, Metal Sonic can do this little finger wag if you jump in front of him, or just taunt him in some way. It's really cute. I like that little detail. I also really want to say that I love how the remake of this boss fight in Generations turned it into more of an actual fight instead of just a race. It really made this boss fight live up to its fullest potential. So upon defeating Metal Sonic, Sonic rescues Amy. Yay! Okay, next is the big one. Metallic Madness. This last zone is pretty much Scrap Brain on steroids. There are enemies and obstacles everywhere in this zone, but it's thankfully way more spaced out compared to Scrap Brain. Act 2 is very much the longest level in the game, and it's for two big reasons. First off, there's this one walker platform that you gotta activate in order to get past an area. When I first played this game, I had no clue what to do until I accidentally jumped on this walker. Seriously, why does this look so hidden? I thought it was a background element, for crying out loud. Second, and probably the most memorable part of Act 2, is the section where you run around as Tiny Sonic. Look at this adorable motherfucker. He's so cute. You use him pretty briefly, about a minute tops, but I still really like this gimmick. And Sonic Mania would bring it back and use it way more than once, which I also really liked. Obviously, Act 3 is where we face the final boss. But right before the final boss, there's a mini section where we have to fight these stupid fucking spotlight Batniks. These Batniks were actually in Stardust Speedway, but they reappear in Act 3 of Metallic Madness. God, I hated these guys when I was younger. I can get past them just fine nowadays, but I just remember dying in this section over and over again. I was not very good at video games back then. To make it worse, these stupid assholes came back in Sonic Mania, and was even made into the mini-boss for Stardust Speedway Act 1. Okay, did Whitehead watch my old review or something? Because I swear this had to be done on purpose. So, after the Spotlight section, we get to the final boss with Dr. Eggman. And it's about as pathetic as every other boss fight. It is one of the better boss fights in the game, but it's not really that difficult. Just 4 hits to kill, and that's really it. Then Eggman's base starts falling apart, and Sonic escapes Little Planet with Rosie in hand. However, just like the first two games, there's both a good and bad ending. To get the good ending, you have to create good futures for every zone, which can be extremely tedious to do through constant time traveling. But thankfully there is a second option. Sonic CD has special stages. How do you get to them? Well, just like Sonic 1, simply collect 50 rings, and jump into a big ring at the end of the level. The special stages in Sonic CD involve Sonic running around these F-Zero-like courses to chase down various UFOs. Destroying all of them will reward Sonic with a Time Stone. Yes, Time Stone, not Chaos Emerald. The Chaos Emeralds aren't in this game. So collecting all 7 Time Stones doesn't let Sonic become Super Sonic, but it does create good futures for every zone, thus granting you the good ending. I'm gonna be honest, the original version of these special stages were terrible. They were still doable, but they just play so jaggedly and are nowhere near as fun to beat. But in the Christian Whitehead port, since the whole game was rebuilt from the ground up, so were the special stages, and they are a hell of a lot better here. They're in proper 3D now and have a much stabler frame rate. With that said, I really like the remade versions of these special stages. They're some of my favorite special stages in a classic Sonic game. I really love the way they look too. They all have such unique looking backgrounds, which can sometimes reflect certain zones in the actual game. Except for Special Stage 6. That stage looks like it just dropped a shitload of PCP. Oh yeah, and be sure to avoid the water because it actually decreases your time a lot faster. But if you are running low on time, you can smash a certain UFO that spawns, which grants you some more time. But if you ever find yourself running dangerously low on time, well, at least in the Christian Whitehead port, if you pause and exit the special stage, go back to your save file and it'll give you a second chance at beating the special stage, which is pretty cool. Okay, so what are the endings like? Well, they're fully animated FMVs. So yay! More animations by Toei. In the good ending, we see Sonic with Amy escaping Eggman's collapsing base, and they land safely back on Earth. I always liked how Sonic gently places Amy down and then just takes off. It's cute. Then Sonic watches as Little Planet, now completely unchained by the controls of Eggman, takes off back to space after bidding Sonic farewell, to which Sonic gets back to doing what he does best, runs off to another adventure. The end credits show off some more animations, which is always a treat to see. After the credits for the good ending, we see plant life getting restored, to which the game tells the player, "You're too cool." You know what? That's super fucking corny, but I honestly love it. You know how good this made me feel when I managed to get this ending for the first time? This shit can save a person's life. Now, as good as the good ending is, I do kinda like the bad ending too. Mainly because it shows Eggman flying off with another time stone, to which Sonic picks up a rock, revs up, and throws that shit right at Eggman, who explodes in an Eggman cloud. That is fucking rad. I love Toei Sonic, what a badass. Though, after the credits, we do see Little Planet appear back on Earth, which pretty much lets us know full well that we need to try again. Damn. Hey, remember the Sonic OVA? Well, I recommend watching it. It's pretty sick. It also appears to be based on the FMVs from Sonic CD. The OVA wasn't handled by Toei Animation, but it was very clearly influenced by their work. It also shares a couple elements from Sonic CD since Metal Sonic is also in it. Figured I'd give the OVA a quick shout out since I can't help but think of it every time I watch Sonic CD's cutscenes. What a gem. Also, I really miss Knuckles' hat. And that was pretty much all the main game stuff in Sonic CD. And seeing how long this video already is, I'll proceed to make it even longer by talking about some obscure shit that no one cares about. Did you know that there's a famous cut level from Sonic CD referred to as R2? Haha, no. In the level select for Sonic CD, which you can also check out in the 2011 port, you'll probably notice that it jumps from level 1 to level 3. In the original PC version of Sonic CD, all the levels were placed in their own folders organized like R1, R3, R4, R5, and etc. But an R2 was completely missing. So yeah, the second level for Sonic CD was completely scrapped. This was a level that was planned pretty early in development, and we don't really have that much info on it. There is one old piece of concept art showing off that the level was gonna have some kind of rainbow waterfalls, which probably would have looked super pretty. It kinda reminds me of the rainbow effect that can happen in Sonic 1 when played on a Genesis with composite cables. Even though this R2 was cut from the game, it actually still appears in Toei Animation's FMVs. The end credits show sort of a montage of each zone in Sonic CD. The second zone we see is for a level that's not in the final game, which turns out to be R2. It's been speculated by fans that this made it into the FMVs, most likely because Toei Animation would have begun working on these cutscenes very early on in development, and R2 most likely wasn't scrapped from the game yet when Toei started making the cutscenes, which is pretty interesting. Apart from this short cutscene, we didn't get any more info on R2 until the 2011 port, when Christian Whitehead was given access to a few cut assets from Sonic CD, which included this unused sprite sheet from R2. This included a few Batniks, one of which was featured in the cutscene, and the boss fight. It looks like Eggman was going to be driving some kind of motorcycle of sorts. While this boss fight went unused, I kind of have a theory that the core idea of this boss fight was reworked into Sonic Mania for Lava Refact 2. Though instead of Eggman's motorbike mobile, it's one of the heavies driving a big motobug. I wouldn't be shocked if Christian and the rest of the team reused this boss fight, considering all the other cut Sonic material that they also incorporated into Mania. It's pretty fascinating. Now, R2 was the only known cut level from Sonic CD, but there are actually 2 more cut zones, but not from the original version of CD. These were 2 brand new zones that were originally planned to be added to the 2011 port by Christian Whitehead himself. If you go to the sound test, which I'll be getting to later, put in 32 and 8, then press start, and you'll see a screenshot for a level called Desert Dazzle, a zone based on the cut level from Sonic 2, Sand Shower aka Dust Hill. Christian also released a screenshot of a new second level, Final Fever. seemingly named after the final boss music. The original plan for Final Fever was that it was going to be a level that could only be accessed by collecting all 7 time stones, kind of like what the original plans for Hidden Palace in Sonic 2 were. And it was basically going to be the true final level, with a new final boss and everything. It sounds pretty cool. Unfortunately, Sega didn't let Christian put either level in his port of Sonic CD, mainly because they wanted a more faithful port, which is totally fair. And being honest, with Mirage Saloon and Sonic Mania being based off Desert Dazzle to begin with, I'm not too upset that these new zones got scrapped. Plus, I feel like Titanic Monarch most likely incorporated some of the ideas Christian wanted to do with Final Fever, and Titanic Monarch is my favorite level in Sonic Mania too, so I'm cool with this. In the end, I'm happy Christian still got a chance to make these 2 zones happen in some way. A part of me also feels like Whitehead only made these 2 zones for the 2011 port because he probably didn't expect Sega to hire him again after he finished remastering Sonic CD. I doubt that he thought they would let him remaster Sonic 1 and 2 as well. Not to mention, at the time, there was no way in hell Christian thought Sega would ever let him make a game like Sonic Mania. It's kind of amazing how far Christian Whitehead and everyone else's careers have come since making these ports. It's a bit of a miracle. One last piece of cut content isn't actually a full level, but a bonus stage. Yes, Sonic CD was originally planned to have bonus stages, but they were cut out pretty quickly, with only one picture of them known to exist. By the looks of it, it kinda looks like the Sonic 1 special stages. I'm not too sure how you were supposed to access them, but if I had to make a guess, I think maybe it was gonna be in the same way the bonus stages would go on to work in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which also had a bonus stage that was a callback to Sonic 1. I'm happy to see the bonus stage gimmick was pretty much reused in Sonic 3. It's definitely one of my favorite extras in that game, but it still would be pretty cool to see what Sonic CD's original bonus stages were like. Also, there's a prototype of Sonic CD, dated on May 12, 1993, 4 months before the final game was released. What's so special about this prototype? Nothing at all. I just like that there's a Sonic CD prototype tied to my birthday. It does have an unfinished special stage, with a funny message on it saying, "The programmer has a nap. Hold out, programmer." It also has a pretty early looking sprite for Amy in Palm Tree Panic. Speaking of Amy, in the final game, she has a few unused sprites. They look cute, so I felt like mentioning them. Going back to Christian Whitehead's port, after you beat the game once, you'll unlock the ability to play as Tails, who controls just as good as Sonic and can even fly. It's pretty sweet. They even made new sprites for Tails in the special stages. Sick. Unfortunately, Tails is the only other playable character. Remember, this port came out 2 years before Christian did the Sonic 1 and 2 remasters, so you can't really play as Knuckles unless you install a mod. But hey, playing as Tails is still really cool. Quick heads up, if you're gonna go after the achievements, you can only get them as Sonic. You can't unlock them as Tails. I made that mistake when I tried using Tails to unlock the Savior of the Planet achievement, only to find that I completely wasted my time. Oi. There's a time attack mode, which speaks for itself, but I recommend playing through this mode because it can help you unlock some sweet extras in this port. The extras include a DA garden, which is pretty much an interactive jukebox. This can be a very peaceful area, plus it even comes with its own theme music, which also sounds nice. There's a visual mode where you can watch the opening cinematic, both the good and bad endings, and this neat little pencil test. There's the level select, which speaks for itself. You can use this to not only travel to any zone, but also any time period too. A is present, B is past, C is good future, and D is bad future, in case you wanted to know. Of course, there's the most obvious extra, the sound test, which not only lets you listen to certain sound effects and music, but it also has secret images. I already mentioned the Desert Dazzle image, but the original Sonic CD had about 5 secret images you can find, so let's look at them. First, putting in 12 and 11 shows you Tails next to a car. This image is signed by Judy Totoya, which is actually the nickname of the artist who originally designed Tails, Yasushi Yamaguchi. This image was also Tails' only appearance in the original version of Sonic CD, and the code for seeing this image also activated debug mode. And in the 2011 port, you see a pretty similar image when you unlock Tails. Next, entering in 4 and 21, and you'll see this Batman Sonic of sorts, drawn by Takumi Miyake, the landscape and visual designer for Sonic CD. It looks pretty badass, if kinda creepy. Putting in 3 and 1 shows this goofy ass image. MC Sonic, the fastest DJ alive. Drawn by the man himself, Kazuyuki Hashino, character designer and illustrator for Sonic CD. If you can remember, he's the same guy who designed Amy and Metal Sonic. I have no words for this image. It's a masterpiece. What a hilarious Easter egg. Enter 11 and 9. This will show you a cutesy looking drawing of Sonic with gray eyes? What the fuck? This was drawn by Masahiro Senpai, landscape designer and animation visual director for Sonic CD. It's a pretty cute image, and it has some Japanese text above it that apparently reads, "You are cool." Aww. Now, I just showed you the cutest extra in the game, but next is the exact fucking opposite. Put in 12 and 25, then you'll be greeted with this. What in the fuck am I looking at? It appears to be some kind of creepy wallpaper of Sonic with a realistic humanoid face. It kind of reminds me of the original movie Sonic. Well, there's some text on it that reads, "Infinite Fun, Sega Enterprises, Majin Picture." And it's signed by Majin. What is this hell? Why is this in the game? Okay, so apparently Majin is the nickname of the artist of this piece of work. Masato Nishimura, a landscape designer for Sonic CD. I have no clue why they put this extra image in the game, but like Cybershell pointed out in his Sonic CD Secrets video, this image has a completely different tone based off which soundtrack you're playing the game with. The clip I played you was using the American soundtrack, which already sounds terrifying enough, but here's how it plays out using the original Japanese boss music. Yeah, not as scary anymore, huh? God, huge apologies to any kids who grew up playing this game with the American soundtrack, and probably got curious to look up some Sonic CD extras. Good lord. Alright, enough about the hidden images. You can also use the sound test to activate debug mode. Debug mode was also in the first two games, and it's pretty interesting how it works. You can cycle through and place random objects from the levels anywhere you want. I'm not too creative when it comes to debug mode, but it's still pretty alright. It plays great using the Genesis controller, so I think maybe Christian Whitehead designed the game to use the Mayflash adapter, or maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know. There is one last extra you can find in the sound test. By entering in 7 and 7, this'll give you access to a secret special stage, and it's probably the hardest one. Beating it just gives you a new end credits screen, which is pretty cool. Okay, so what the fuck else is there to mention about Sonic CD? Well, there is one final thing. Sonic CD was actually the first Sonic game to feature voice clips for Sonic. Yes, Sonic talks in the game, which technically makes CD the first time Sonic ever spoke in the games. Now, it's not full-on sentences or anything like that, but he does have some audible voice lines, provided by the landscape designer, Masato Nishimura. Yes, the same man who made that creepy fucking extra image also voices Sonic in this game. Sonic has 4 voice clips, 2 that go unused, and 2 that you could still hear in the final game. The first one you can hear in the game is whenever you get an extra life. Instead of the usual 1-up sound effect, you'll hear Sonic say, "Yes!" Here are the 2 unused voice clips. "Yeah! Alright!" I fucking love the "alright" voice clip. It's probably my favorite one. I wish it got used somewhere. So anyways, what exactly is the 4th voice clip? Well, you can still hear it in the final game, and it's kind of cruel to hear it just go in any level in the game, then without pausing the game, just don't do anything for approximately 3 minutes. If you leave Sonic tapping his foot for long enough, then suddenly Sonic will say, "I'm out of here!" And then he'll just jump off the screen, and it's an instant game over. This is actually in the fucking game. It's wild. Can you just imagine being the poor kid growing up playing this game? You leave to go to the bathroom or something, then you come back to play just to see that you got a game over, and for simply forgetting to pause the game? Absolutely hysterical. I guess one final thing I could bring up about the Christian Whitehead port is that Christian actually put in an animation effect for Sonic and Tails' sprites to have accurate sprite rotations when they go up and down slopes or run through loops. While the rotation files are in the final game, they went unused, but someone did make a mod to restore them. They look a bit rough, but it's still pretty cool. It kinda reminds me of the sprite rotations they would end up doing in Sonic Mania. Huh. And that's really all I've got to say about Sonic CD and Christian Whitehead's remaster. I guess I must really like this game or something. Even with how outlandish and weird Sonic CD's level design can be at points, this is still one of my personal favorite Sonic games of all time. I think it's better than Sonic 1 and even Sonic 2. I don't think it's better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles or anything like that, but I would probably rank it slightly higher than Sonic Mania. Now, I know a few people who don't like Sonic CD are probably going to watch this whole video and be like, Cooper, how could you like this game so much that you talked about it for over an hour? The level design's really annoying. The time travel mechanic's super gimmicky. Past Stardust Speedway has really weird music. And all are good points. It's just that without this excellent port, I don't think I would care anywhere near as much as I do about not just Sonic CD, but Sonic in general. This port was released at just the right time for me personally. It was just what I needed back in December 2011. I needed that extra push to just keep going and just find something that clicked with me. 2021 marks the 10th anniversary of Christian Whitehead's Sonic CD port, which also means I've been a dedicated Sonic fan for that long too. If not for this port, I probably would not have been able to find such content creators like Some Call Me Johnny, The Great Clement, Brain Scratch Commentary, Cybershow, and so much more. Not to mention all the great people and the amount of friends I've gotten to meet just through our shared interest of this stupid blue rat. So, would I not care about Sonic CD if it wasn't for this great port? Probably not. In fact, I very likely would have been in the same bank of people who say, yes, the level design is bad, the time travel mechanic is stupid, that humanoid Sonic wallpaper is fucking terrifying. But would I have become a Sonic fan if Christian Whitehead didn't make this port? Most likely not. Would I have become a fan some other time with a different game? I'm really not too sure, and that's kind of why I hold this 2011 port of Sonic CD so close to my heart. It had to be this port, it had to be this game, and it had to be that moment on Christmas Eve 2011. So, with all that said, to Christian Whitehead, if he's somehow watching and also managed to sit through this whole review, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the opportunities and friendships you've helped open me up to. And I'm really proud of where your career went not too long after this port. Seriously, when that reveal trailer for Sonic Mania dropped at the 25th anniversary party, I was so fucking happy when I first saw it. Not only because it was a new classic Sonic game, but it was being made by Christian Whitehead and his crew. Like, he made it! He finally got to make his own classic Sonic game! Even with the game bringing back older levels and only having 4 new zones, I didn't care. I was just really proud of Whitehead and everyone else. But going back to this port, Christian, thank you so much for this excellent port of Sonic CD. Cause honestly, without this port, I probably wouldn't be here right now. And I mean that in every sense of the word. So how exactly can you guys play this port of Sonic CD? Well, it's still on Steam, PS3, Xbox 360, and mobile devices for just $5. But is it available on current-gen hardware? Obviously, Steam has it covered forever. But for Xbox users, thankfully, just about every Sonic game is backwards compatible with both the Xbox One and Series X. So if you're an Xbox user, you can still play the port just fine, which is great. But when it comes to PlayStation users, well, unless you have a PS3, your only option for PS4 and PS5 for now is streaming that port through PS Now. Yuck. Honestly, this game needs a proper port on PS4 and PS5, but that very likely won't happen. Ever. For some weird reason, Sega seems really afraid of porting Christian Whitehead's port of Sonic CD, along with the remasters of Sonic 1 and 2 that he did with Stealth. Unfortunately, Christian's Sonic CD port never made it to a Nintendo platform, most likely due to the WiiWare's space limitation, and the Wii U being the Wii U. I think this port could really thrive being on the Nintendo Switch. Why isn't it on there? I have no clue. You'd think that someone like maybe Sega Ages could port Christian Whitehead's version, since they were in charge of the Sonic 1 and 2 ports, though those were made using emulation, instead of Christian and Stealth's remasters. Apparently, sometime after Sonic 1 and 2's Ages ports, Sega Ages claimed that they are not planning on doing a port of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I wonder why, but I'll save that for another video. However, I've heard that Sega Ages did want to look into porting Sonic CD, but they were apparently having difficulties emulating Sega CD games. Okay, if any of this is true, then all I've got to say about that is... what the fuck are you trying to emulate the Sega CD version for? Just port Christian's remaster already! Jesus Christ! What is with Sega? I can kind of understand why they wouldn't want to port Sonic 1 or 2 because those remasters were made specifically for mobile phones. But the Sonic CD remaster is already on older consoles and Steam! Just port it again! Holy shit! Well, until Sega does something with this 2011 port, I'd recommend getting this great version of Sonic CD in any way you can. If you're on Steam or Xbox, then you're good to go. If you're a PlayStation user without a PS3, well, best of luck using PS Now, I guess. If you're a Nintendo user, well, you're fucked. I'm not too sure what else to really do. Though there is the Sonic CD decompilation project. So if you're a good tech person, then I'd recommend tracking down this decompilation of the 2011 port and just make your own port of Sonic CD on Switch. If you're one of those more knowledgeable people who can do that, then best of luck to you. I think the same fans who did this decompile project for Sonic CD also just recently did the Sonic 1 and 2 decompilations, which gets the mobile remasters of Sonic 1 and 2 running on native PC hardware, no emulation required. Sonic fans who have the insane technical knowledge can be pretty fucking cool. Keep up the great work, boys. Alright, I think this video has gone on for long enough. So thank you so much for watching my re-review of Sonic CD. I'll see all of you in the next review. And until then,
I'm out of here!
why does it sound like the Japanese game over screen says, "You suck, whore"?